Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast with Alex Ramirez. It says Jose Ramirez here. Something wrong happened. I don't know what. But as always, today I have an amazing guest that I'm very excited to talk to, get to learn from, and connect with. And before I introduce him to you, though, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, likes on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. And I'm going to ask you for a small favor today. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, if you get some type of value, if you get some type of information or the inspiration to go out and take action and make some progress towards your goals and aspirations and dreams and what you're called to do, I want to ask you to please share this episode with one friend, since this is how we grow. This is how we're able to share our message and motivate, inspire, and bless other entrepreneurs out there. And while you do that, like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss any life-changing episode in the future that we release. And thank you. Today I have Tomas Keenan. Tomas Keenan is best known for his humble beginnings and lengthy career as a custom car audio installer. He is the definition of a technician, someone who's a technician turned CEO, right? So he went from being a technician into becoming a CEO after co-founding an industry-leading GPS tracking and dashboard camera installation company and growing it to 7 figures. He moved into the coaching space as a high-level business and success coach for other industry leaders and business owners. And Thomas works with entrepreneurs who refuse to be average and are crushing 7 figures plus in business. His success as an elite business coach for the Break Free Academy led him to start his own thing. And now he is a sought-after public speaker, best-selling author, 2 times best-selling author, and the host of the Step It Up Entrepreneur podcast. And he has interviewed a lot of industry leaders, influencers, high-level business owners, coaches, entrepreneurs. And I'm very glad to have him here, since I'm also doing something similar. And Thomas, thank you very much for being here, man, and making time. I really appreciate you, and you are welcome.
Alex, thanks, man. This is a role reversal for me. So when I come on someone else's podcast, the first thing I like to do, and I like to make a big point of this, is basically come in here and, number one, tell you, great job on actually having the balls to come in here and put a podcast on yourself, right, and be the host. Number two, English is not your first language. So this is probably 10 times as hard for you as it is for someone who sits in my seat. And most importantly, I want to just come in here and just tell you that I'm grateful for the opportunity to come speak to you and also get a positive message out in front of your audience as well.
Thank you, man. Yeah. So I started my podcast about 6 months ago, and this is like my 80 some interview, 80 plus interview. So like I've been going hard. And the number one thing that held me back from starting my podcast, that I think holds anyone who wants to start a podcast, it was myself. And like I would ask people, like at the beginning when I first started, I would ask someone to be on my podcast, like a very successful person or someone that I thought was very successful. And I would ask, and he would say, yeah, I'll come in your podcast, because he was willing to help. And I was like, I had this urge to like cancel the meeting because like I just wanted to self-sabotage because I didn't feel good enough. Right. Yep. And like the number one thing that held me back was myself. And it was definitely, like a really interesting journey that I've been able to like enjoy and grow from. So yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for the acknowledgement. And Thomas, the first thing that I do with my guest, man, is I ask them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
Whew. All right. 75 seconds or less. Started as a custom car audio installer because I love working with my hands, and I wound up being really good at it. Got to a point where I knew more than my boss, and that caused a little bit of a disagreement between us. The age-old lesson, never outshine the master, and I was trying to outshine the master. Wound up basically telling that guy a couple of short 4-letter words that we're not going to repeat here. And our relationship ended poorly. And I said, well, now I don't have a job. I'm 19 years old. What do I do? And I went and I actually opened up my first business. I was a great technician. I knew what I was doing as far as putting the gear, the audio equipment, the electronics into someone's car. but I was a horrible business owner because I had no experience there. So it was a real crash and burn. That business wound up lasting 5 years. I learned a lot, but it also ultimately failed at the end of the day. Went back to work for someone for a couple of years, got back on my feet financially, got back into a good headspace. And about 3 years into it, I was like, I'm not here to work for other people. I got to go do my own thing again. I felt that calling, that entrepreneurial calling. And that's when I went and I started my second business with a business partner. And we decided to install GPS tracking and dash cameras in commercial vehicles. And it was pretty much the same skill set required for the car audio industry, but we basically transitioned from car audio installers into GPS tracking installers and started to build a real service-based business around it. At the time I left, I wound up selling my company to him in 2020. I sold my half to him, and we had about 25 field technicians on the team at that point in time. So we had a pretty decent sized operation going, doing multiple 7 figures a year. But that's where I really had to learn to become a business owner and not just a technician in the company. It was the only way for us to grow and survive. And during that time period, I got into the business coaching space as a client, wound up writing my first best-selling book. And then I actually transitioned into the coaching space myself because I found a real passion for helping others succeed in business.
That's an amazing story, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot to dive deep into. And actually, I was listening to a podcast recently in which Peter Sage, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he recently became my mentor, and I'm very glad that I met him. And he was talking about certainty and uncertainty, and how most people will start a business based on the uncertainty that they feel, right? For having success, instead of going with something that causes them to have passion, right, and purpose. So, for example, he gave the example of a hair salon, right, in which, like, the manager of the hair salon, she's really good at cutting hair, and she's basically the one that runs the entire business. So she's like, you know what? I should be doing this by my own, right? I should be the one having her own hair salon, because, like, the business owner is not even here, and I'm the one that cuts hair, that manages the entire thing. And like, she wants to start a business, and she starts a business based on the certainty that she thinks she has based on her skills, right? Instead of going with something that really causes her passion. And she starts a business, and then she realizes that, like, there's two different skill sets between being really good at cutting hair and managing hair clients, and, like, running a hair salon business, right? It's two different skills. So, like, she's failing, she's dealing with a lot of uncertainty, right? She went for it because of certainty, and when she's dealing with a lot of uncertainty, she just, like, comes crumbling down to the ground, right? Because, like, there's no passion in it. Like, there's no, like, passion and grit to, like, stick with it and stay with it. And on the contrary, if you go with something that gives you passion, and that you're doing out of purpose, right? Like, you'll stick with it because, like, you're passionate about it, and you feel, if you feel that's your purpose, you'll find out, like, how to work out whatever it is that you're trying to work out, and you'll deal with the uncertainty. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that I learned that in a podcast that I listened recently. So what is your take on that, man?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In my experience, any of the opportunities that I've ever chased for money have been short-lived. And that was the case for sure, 100% certainty with my second company, is because I saw an opportunity to become successful and make good money installing GPS tracking and dash camera systems. However, that wasn't my passion. I had a passion for installing custom high-end car audio, but not for installing a basic tracking device in a commercial truck. But what I saw was, as I began to learn more, self-develop, get a little bit more financially savvy, a little bit more business savvy as well, was, oh, here's an opportunity, because we're not selling a piece of electronics to a retail consumer. We're selling this business to business. So, for instance, you get a client that comes into a custom car audio shop, and you tell them, hey, this is $10,000 for this custom system. And that guy almost falls over because the price is so crazy. Whereas in this commercial space, you go in and you sell the fleet manager, hey, you've got 10 vehicles over here. They each need a backup camera system. It's $1,000 per vehicle. And you tell them it's 10 grand. And the guy can't pull out the checkbook and cut you the check fast enough, or give you the credit card fast enough. So what I'm saying is, $10,000 to an individual may be a lot of money, but to a business, it's a drop in the bucket. Right. So I see this, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a faster exchange of money with a shorter amount of time. Right. It's a more transactional sales base. So cool. I see the opportunity here. Let's go capitalize on that opportunity. So I did that. And I spent 11 years capitalizing on that opportunity. Did I make good money? Yes. Did I make great money? No. And the reason being is because there was no passion there. Right. So in order for me to get better in that role, in order for me to gain the skills needed to become an authority figure in the industry, to fine-tune podcasting and public speaking and writing books and writing blog posts and articles for big name magazines, it required me to go in and work on myself, go find a mentor, go learn from others who have done what I'm looking to do. And in that journey, I came across Ryan Stewman, who's a good dear friend of mine to this very day. And I happen to run his companies at this point, which is further down my journey. But he gave me some assignments to do. And in that work is where I stumbled upon my purpose. I wasn't looking for it, right? It's kind of like, the guy who goes out to the bar one night looking to have a couple of drinks and hang out with his buddies, and he winds up meeting his wife, his future wife, right? Mm-hmm. Not looking for her, but all of a sudden, boom, there she is. The same thing happened to me when it came to my purpose. I wasn't looking for it, but while I was in there doing the work, I was like, oh, wow, I stumbled upon it. And my purpose is to help others succeed in business, right? I realized that, hey, cool, all this stuff's going on. I'm gaining success over here. This is going great. This is going great. And all these people started reaching out to me saying, hey, what are you doing? Like, what's different? You're walking different. You're talking different. You're winning over here and all these cool things. So now people see that, they take notice, especially if you're leveraging free tools such as social media. That's what it's there for, by the way. And I got people reaching out to me saying, well, what are you doing, man? How does this get better? Could you hop on a call with me for a couple minutes? So I start helping these people. And I start helping these people and not expecting a single thing in return. I'm not expecting a favor. I'm not expecting $1, nothing. I'm literally there to help people because it makes me feel good inside. So now I see all this that's going on. The problem occurs when most of my available time started to be consumed by people who were pulling time from me. Yeah. And that's when the coaches in my life had to say, hey, knucklehead, you're doing a great thing here, but you also can monetize this. It's time for you to turn this into a revenue stream.
Yeah, man. I really resonate with that because so now, like right now, I'm helping entrepreneurs build a multi-million-dollar network building podcast, right? So like I started my podcast, I was doing, I usually have my Modern Gentleman shirt, but like I was pushing really hard at the Modern Gentleman, which I believe was my purpose or is my purpose, right? Building Modern Gentlemen and creating this world movement, helping men become modern gentlemen, right? Become the best version of themselves and tap into their God-given purpose. And I believe this is my purpose, and I'm working really hard. It's not working, like you can probably imagine how having a 20-year-old on a call with a 30, 35, 40-year-old telling them that he's going to help him grow their business without sacrificing time, health, and family might have gone, right? Didn't go well. And, I did like 60 sales calls, like in no after no after no, right? And then, but I was like passionate about my purpose, right? Like I believe this is my purpose. So I started my podcast interviewing men like you, right? Just, like selfishly to fulfill my purpose, which is to contribute to other people, right? To other men. And I took it really seriously. And I found that I was really good at building this multi-million-dollar network, right? And getting people into my podcast and all of that. And now, and then people were asking me, how are you getting, like such high level entrepreneurs on your podcast? And I started telling them how easy it was and how the only thing that was holding me back from doing that was myself. And all of a sudden it becomes my business. And right now, man, I'm experiencing this mixture of certainty, right? Because I'm good at what I do. Right? And I have team members that help me deliver results really fast to my clients. So I have certainty, but I also have passion and purpose behind what I'm doing. And I feel completely unstoppable, man. Like I sometimes feel like I'm missing out because like, I don't have anything pushing me, like motivating me. Like it's not like I want this Ferrari and that's pulling me, that's motivating me to like take action. Sure. And it's not that like I fear something which is pushing me from the back, right? So I don't have anything pushing me or pulling me. I just have this intrinsic motivation from within that just keeps me going. And it's pretty cool. It feels really good, right? So I have that, like that mixture, man, of things. And like you stumbled upon your purpose without looking for it. I stumbled upon my purpose without looking for it. Actually, it was like a really, by going through very dark moments. So like in your book, I don't, do you have two books, right? So
Yeah.
do you talk about like finding your purpose, or like yeah, like do you help entrepreneurs with that?
Mhm.
Or so yeah, can you?
Yeah, it's funny. Part of me finding my purpose was in me doing the work, and a lot of that work was me doing book number one. Right. It wasn't until after that, my book came out in July 2019. And that was one of the we'll call it the fuel on the fire that started to get people to reach out to me and say, hey, do you got 5 minutes? Let me pick your brain, all that kind of stuff. So I really wasn't sure of that purpose when I had put the book together. I was clear on the purpose of my business at that time, the company that I owned, because that was one of the things that I was talking about heavily in that book. I'm a firm believer that there's three main pillars that every company needs in order to build culture, right? And culture is the infrastructure. It's the foundation that every company needs. And if you don't have it, whether you're one person or 100 people, you're asking for trouble, right? So number one, you need your purpose, which is your why. Why are you in business, right? And it can't be some cheap ass cop out like, oh, I'm doing it for my family, or I'm here to make money. Like, no shit.
Yeah.
Who starts a business and doesn't want to make money, right? Unless you're a nonprofit, that's a different story. So you've got your purpose, your why, same thing. Those are interchangeable words there. Number two is your mission, right? And your mission is basically a goal. It's what you do, it's who you do it for, and by when. And your mission is a moving target. So you're going to set that mission, and you're going to work to achieve that end goal of conquering that mission every day. And that mission is usually something that's far off. It's a year out, it's 2 years out, 3 years out, 5. I don't care what it is, whatever it makes work in your head, cool. Right. But you got to set and establish that mission. And this has to be public facing also. So when people look at your marketing, they go to your website, they need to see this information, right? They need to know why you're in business. They need to know what your mission is, because in your mission, you're telling your clientele, you're pretty much building the avatar right there, right? It's marketing 101. You're talking about, hey, this is who we do business for. This is why we're in business. This is who we serve. And this is what we actually do when we serve these people. And finally, number three, and this is the most important part of this foundational series I'm going to tell you about right here. This is core values. You need clearly defined core values in your business. And it goes a hell of a lot deeper than that, because yes, you need them in your business, but you also need them in your personal life. You need them in your family life too.
Yeah.
Right? Those core values are what you're going to basically leverage and use. It's a tool that goes into your tool belt, and every decision that you need to make needs to get basically put up against those values, right? So it's also super helpful. You start growing a team, right? And you got a subordinate or a person who's under you, and I don't know, you're out sick for the week. You're on vacation, and that person has to make a decision. Well, the rule here that I have with my team members is, as long as you make that decision and it's in alignment with the core values, then whether it's right or wrong, I can't be mad at you. Right. So this is where you're kind of stepping out of a lot of the roles where you don't have to go in there and micromanage and handhold everyone who works for you. You have to have those values. You have to have those guidelines established, and that's one of the things that we do really well here at Break Free Academy, is we've built a hell of a culture. And I could walk around this office at any point in time and pull any one of my team members inside and say, hey, give me one of the core values. And they all know it. Right. I see so many companies, small businesses, medium-sized companies, even big corporations, where they talk about the importance of core values. You walk into one of those facilities and you ask the person behind the desk, hey, give me one of your core values, and they can't answer the question. That's a problem, right? And that all stems from leadership, in my opinion.
Yeah. Great insight, man. So purpose, Simon Sinek calls it just cause, having a just cause, right? Then a mission, right? So like the purpose is this big arching thing that encompasses like the ultimate goal that you're going after, right? Like what is it that you're trying to accomplish, the mission, so like a smaller thing.
Yeah.
And I like that. Sorry for the interruption. If you're an aspiring, established coach, course creator, author, and speaker, I want to extend an invitation to check out my free training on the podcast Cloak Track Framework by clicking on the link in the description of this podcast. On this training, you're going to learn how combining podcasting with a rare concept that very few people know about called the Cloak Track can help you build a multi-million-dollar network of successful people who can become your clients, put you in front of hundreds of your ideal clients with your message, coaching, courses, and books, help you become a best-selling author, get you booked to speak on stages, or even making an extra $237,600 in the next 6 months. Click on the link of the description of this podcast to learn about the 4 simple steps to make this work. Step number 1 is alignment. Aligning who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals and purpose with building your podcast so that podcasting is a vehicle that helps you achieve your goals. Step number 2 is leveraging the Cloak Track to find an unlimited supply of your ideal podcast guest. Step number 3 is leveraging the Cloak Track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4 is the content machine, which is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. These are the 4 steps to making the podcast Cloak Track Framework work, and I'm not going to hold anything back on this training. So click on the link in the description of this podcast, go and check it out. And once you've done that, if you feel like this would help, we also have a complimentary, free, absolutely free alignment call to get you started and show you exactly how to implement everything. Get access to the training right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye. That you're trying to do, who are you doing it for, and by when, right? By when?
Yep.
Nice. And then core values. So I'm curious, man, what are your core values?
So I'll rip off the core values here at Break Free Academy. We got 4 of them. Okay. Number 1, we do the work. Number 2 is FYE, or in other words, fuck your excuses.
Okay.
Right? We don't accept excuses. Listen, everyone messes up, but don't make an excuse, because that's just not acceptable. Own up to what you messed up and then go and fix it. So we do the work. FYE, we do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. Right? We got those 3 right there, and we go above and beyond. So these are the values that we operate by each and every day. This is what our team goes and operates by. So when a client reaches out to someone on my team and says, hey, I need access to, or hey, I'm having trouble with the let's say one of my customer service reps can go in there and be like, all right, cool. Well, here's a little bit of help. You know what? I'm going to go by the core values today. I'm going to go above and beyond. Not only am I going to help you here, I'm going to check up with you again tomorrow to make sure you're 100% good to go. Right? Hey, I need access to one of the online courses. Something's not working there. Cool. One of my guys are going to back end and check. Hey, we found a problem with it. I unlocked access for you. And because we screwed up, we actually gave you access to one of the other courses too, free of charge. That's going above and beyond, if you ask me.
Yeah. It sounds to me like integrity and excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, man. So do you have any, for anyone out there, any, married entrepreneur with kids out there,
yep,
who like main focus is business right now, because that seems to be like the main pain, like the most pain points. Yeah. Like the biggest pain point that they have. And they're trying to find their core values. They're trying to figure out what they are. Do you have any advice that would help someone find their core values?
Yeah. Read my book.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I cover it real heavy in that book, and there's some worksheets in there as well. There's a PDF printout that basically gives you a whole bunch of different ideas of what core values can be, to basically start your mind thinking it like that. And hey, this is a good word: integrity, professionalism, timeliness. What are these things that are important to you? So in the book is a whole worksheet that brings you through an exercise that helps you get clarity around those values. And it's super helpful. And when I actually finally got core values into my second company, that's when things started to get good. That's when we started to attract the right people. That's when we started to hire the right people. That's when we also noticed that when we brought people on, they weren't going to stay there for 3 weeks, 3 months and quit. We would actually hire people based on core values and the values that they had intrinsically in them already. And then we would train them to the skill set needed for the role. And because of that, we wound up having long-term retention on employees and team members. And the same thing holds true today over here at my role at Break Free Academy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like not being able to retain your clients. I mean, your clients also, but like your employees, right? And people that work with you causes what does that cost?
It's crazy. So if you can actually Google it, there is an employee cost calculator. There's a bunch of them you can find if you Google it. But if you start rolling in, okay, what are the costs for the advertising? Because most people that you wind up hiring, you're going to go and you're going to use some platform like WiseHire, Indeed, ZipRecruiter. It's going to cost you whatever the money is a month that you're going to run for hiring ads. You've got the time, your time, whatever your time is worth per hour, right? To actually bring that person through a hiring process, right? And if you don't know what your time is worth per hour, go figure it out. It's not that difficult. That's a metric. That is a KPI that every person on this planet should know for themselves, in my opinion. So you've got the hiring itself, you've got the ads, the hiring, you've got an onboarding process. Hopefully you have one, you've got time there, right? And for instance, onboarding process here at Breakthrough Academy is a solid 2 weeks for anybody who comes in the door, right? So now I'm weeks into somebody. Now I've got to give them, depending upon the company you've got, maybe you're giving them a computer or a tablet. Maybe you're giving them access to different software. Most likely you are. Maybe you're giving them a phone or a voice over IP phone number. It takes time for your team and other people on the team to put all this stuff together. So by the time you add all of this up, and now someone comes in, you hire them. It's the wrong hire. They're not a good fit for the job. They're in there for 3 months. About 1.5 months into that is when they know that this isn't a good fit for me, but they're usually going to drag it on for double that time. So now you just paid this person for an additional month and a half's worth of their time, right? And now I'm giving you a short window. What happens when it's 3 years? What happens when it's 5 years? Think of all of that payroll that you just threw out the window for someone who's performing probably at 20 to 40%.
Exactly.
It's a lot of money. Honestly, it's a figure that's so high that it probably disgusts you if you actually go and figure it out.
So hiring is important, and so then knowing your core values and then hiring in according to your core values, hiring people who like you can intrinsically feel they are aligned with those core values is then extremely important.
Yep, 100%, man, 100%. A lot of big gurus will tell you this, and this is 100% the truth. You've got to hire slow and fire fast, right? And to me, I'm very, very diligent with the hiring process. I pull people through in a very slow manner. I install what's called hiring hoops, right? And these are hoops where I'm trying to get the person that's applying for the job to actually trip up and disqualify themselves from the process.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't do exactly what I ask you to do, exactly when I ask you to do it, the chances are you're probably never going to get face-to-face with me for an interview. Right? My time is very valuable, right? I know exactly what it's worth. So if I'm going to spend 30, 40, 50 minutes with you on a Zoom interview or in-person interview here in the office, then I have to ensure that you're the right fit before you even come in here and get 5 minutes of my time. Right? The only way to do that is to filter people out on the front end. To me, hiring is no different than marketing and sales, right? In order to hire people, you've got to go out there and you've got to attract the right people to your company. That'll also ties back into culture, right? You've got to go out there, leverage social media, leverage platforms like we use WiseHire here too. WiseHire is the best in my opinion because it posts out to multiple job boards like the Indeeds and the ZipRecruiters for you. So you start to get these applications in, right? And this is marketing here. So the applications, I hate to break it to you folks, but the applications are the same thing as leads. That's all it is, right? And when you get sales leads into a sales pipeline, you have to work those leads through the pipeline, through the process. Not everyone's going to buy from you. If I gave you 100 leads tomorrow, right? If you turned out 10 of them into closed sales, like that's a good closing ratio. It's 10%, right? But how long is it going to take you to get those 10 people to convert? Right, that's a lot of phone calls. That's a lot of DMs. It's a lot of text messages and emails that you've sent out to those people to get them booked on your calendar to then convert them into a potential real sale, right? Hiring is the same damn thing. The difference is I'm trying to get people to trip up so they disqualify themselves so I can save more of my time.
Yeah. So like if you put a hoop and then they like they are able to solve those problems and actually jump through the hoop and, go like around them or whatever, then you're able to like be like, oh, this person actually makes a fit because he's the type of person that is resourceful and that will be able to solve problems in in an event that he has a problem. He's encounters a problem, and instead of needing me to go and micromanage him, he'll be able to solve it on his own because he's resourceful and can think. Yeah, that's really awesome, man.
Yep.
So I started to hire recently. So I have a team of 9 now, and I went from like trying to do everything by myself to realizing and doing, and making the shift that there's people out there that not only do whatever it is that I thought I could only do better than me, but they would love to do it, right? Like that thing that I was trying to force myself to do that I thought I was the only one that could do. Well, there's someone out there that could do it better than me and actually enjoys doing it. So I started to hire, and I've actually, you said hire slow and fire fast, right? That's what you said. So I've been hiring fast and firing fast as well, man. Yeah, hiring fast and firing fast and firing faster, right? So like I hire based on this feeling. I think I'm very good like with intuition, and I'm very in tune with like my feeling sensor and with like listening to myself, so I can instantly tell whether that person will be a fit or no. And if I feel like they will, I hire them. I take them through the onboarding process and all of that. And so far, it's well, I'm only 6 months into the process, but yeah, man, it's working. I feel good. I feel like it's working. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. So man, let me ask you about your podcast. What is Step It Up podcast about? Step It Up Entrepreneur podcast about?
So Step It Up Entrepreneur is my podcast. I originally started that podcast under a different name. It was called GPS Tracking Installers, and that was the industry I was in. I was going back to our conversation earlier. I was heavily involved in that industry, had a successful company, and I was talking to business owners who were doing what I was doing. That was my target audience. When I decided to get rid of or exit that company, I realized that, my audience had shifted as I had grown as an individual. I needed to speak to other industries, other verticals. So I transitioned, I rebranded the podcast. It's now called Step It Up Entrepreneur. You can find it on all the big platforms, just like you can here with yours. The podcast, the Spotify's, the Googles, Apple, the whole 9 yards. And I realized that the person that I was looking to talk to was most likely a male, high-performing, high-level thinking entrepreneur. And my ideal client to work with when it comes to coaching with me, or even here at Break Free Academy, is someone who is owning a business who's doing 7 figures plus a year. Okay. Right? That's where I can help people the most. Can I help someone start up from day one? Sure, I can. But realistically, that's not the best use of my time. Going back to it again, I know what I'm worth per hour, and I don't want to sound like too harsh here, but typically those guys can't afford me at the current money that they're making, if they're making any money at all. So I need to go and focus my time on a client who's doing 7+ figures a year minimum. The problems that they're going to have are the ones that I can help overcome the best as well. And one of the reasons that it really works is because not only do I still coach clients, not only do I still help people, even, free content that I give out in the podcast, once a week, but I'm still here in the seat. I'm still here in the trenches doing the work in operating a company. Right. And this is we do well over here. We make a bunch of money. It's almost 50 people on the team at Break Free Academy at this point. And our mission as a company here is to make people the most elite versions of themselves. Right. So it just ties in with Break Free Academy. It ties in with our Apex Masterminds. It ties in with my personal purpose as I help other people succeed in business. So you put all this stuff together and it's like, oh, okay, boom, there's my ideal client. There's my ideal avatar and target audience. Let me go speak to them, because the problems that I'm having as the COO of Break Free Academy are the same problems that my clients are going to face. I just happen to be a step or two ahead of them. Yeah. Right. And if you're a step or two ahead of where your clients are, you can help them through the situation. You don't have to be 100 years ahead of somebody to help them.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. Like it's based on environment. So for example, if you are in I don't know, in the city, and you're offering water bottles,
Mhm.
some, one or two people might take it. But if you're in the desert and someone is, and people are running a marathon and you're offering water bottles, like they're going to like take them away, because it's all about environment and where you put yourself in, and you want to put yourself in a place in which your value is valued the most, right?
Sure.
So yeah. So man, do you also, so I think you also have a Step It Up Academy.
Yeah. So Step It Up Academy is one of my entities that I still have operational. Um, it's pretty much a dormant LLC at this point. I run my consulting through there, which is also run through Break Free Academy. So technically, I am a team member of Break Free Academy over here, but everything kind of flows back over to Step It Up. That's one of the things that I did when I moved down here. I'll give you the story actually. So I was coaching with Break Free Academy for about a year. Wound up selling my house in New York. Sold my company, and I moved my family, my wife, my 3 kids, and everything down from Texas, from New York to Texas. I came down here. I started Step It Up Academy because I was building my own coaching and mastermind program. Right. Again, found my passion, knew what I wanted to do, knew how I could best serve and help people. And I'm down here about a month or so, and Ryan Stewman calls me up and he's like, "Hey man," he goes, "I know you're down here. Let's go build some really cool shit together." And I was like, all right, well, fuck me, because now I just started a company, dumped a bunch of money into it. Like, what am I going to do? So Step It Up Academy is still there. It's still my baby, but Break Free Academy is where I really spend my time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And this, it was a very tough decision for me to make. But if I wasn't clear on my purpose and I wasn't clear on my personal core values, it would have been an even harder decision. And I say that because a guy like Ryan Stewman, a massive influencer, someone who's been super successful in his life, comes to me and says, "I want to get together with you. I want you to come into my company and help me run it and make this thing like here's this great company in business 12 years already. Let's go make it 100x." Shit, man. Like, what do I do? Like, I have the opportunity to continue building this company that I just started. And on a great year, I can help 40 clients one-to-one. Right. And that's me busting my ass. I'm going to make great money doing it too. Or I can get together with Stewman and I could help him grow his company to 100x what it is currently. And I could help thousands of people per year. Right. So that's where me being ultra clear on what my purpose is. Again, I help others succeed in business. So do I want to help 40 people or do I want to help 40,000 people?
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. And that's why I'm in the seat I am today.
Nice. Impact over income. Funny enough, when you put impact first, you make income a lot more money. Yeah.
Yeah. It really is funny. That's just the way it works. Man, you give people enough over time without expecting anything in return. And when you're in a time of need, which is going to have, and being in a time of need is not always a financial need. Okay. When you're in time of need, when shit hits the fan in your life, because it's going to happen, right? I don't care who you are. If it hasn't happened, trust me, it will. Right. When that happens to you, if you've done enough good by other people, when you least expect it, they're going to come back and help you. Just the way the world works.
Exactly. Cool. Well, man, we have a couple of minutes and I finished my interviews with 5 questions. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you the first one.
Sure.
If you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, not like redo your life or regret anything, not like that. Just give your 20-year-old self some advice. What do you say?
I don't regret anything I did in my younger years, even though I was a complete dipshit until the age of 35. With that being said, if I had to give one simple piece of advice to my 20-year-old self, because I wasn't a good listener back then either, I knew it all. I would have told myself to start reading earlier.
Yeah.
I graduated high school when I was 17, and I didn't read a book until I was probably 35. I had read every technician and technical manual possible for the car audio industry, but I hadn't gone in and read a book to learn, to help up, like really help up here. I knew the skill set, I knew the trade, but I didn't know how to make me better.
That's extremely valuable. So I don't know. I remember who said, Will Smith said, the keys to life are reading and running, right? Because like when you run, like that's something hard, doing hard stuff, like, like running, exercising, cold showers, all of that, right? Like you did 75 hard and that was extremely hard. And the reason why is that the first key to life is because when you do hard things, you get this voice in your mind, right, in your head that wants you to quit, right? Like if you want to get up early at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you're like, oh no, don't get up, stay in bed. It's going to be very comfortable, right? If you want to go and work out, you get this voice, no, let's do it tomorrow, or don't do it, right? If you want to eat healthy, you're like, no, that piece of pie looks better, right? So when you train yourself to do hard things, you master that voice in your head, right? And when you read books, like there's no problem that you can have that hasn't already been solved. And like reading will help you with that.
Yeah.
So great advice, man. The second question is mindset. What is a mindset shift that you've had that you think has contributed to your success?
Extreme ownership.
Responsibility. Taking responsibility.
Yeah. Everything is my fault. Literally everything. I read 10X by Grant Cardone a bunch of years ago, and he told a story in that book about, hey, a guy goes through a red light, or is that a stop sign or a stoplight, whatever, and someone comes and rear ends him, and he says, whose fault is it? And at first, you're thinking, well, the driver behind him who hit that guy, it's 100% his fault. No, it's not. It's the guy who was sitting there at the light in the driver's seat. It's his fault. And at first everyone's like, oh, well, come on, that can't be. No, it's his fault because, maybe he left his house 10 minutes late that day. Well, you know what? If you had left on time or left 10 minutes early to ensure that you were on time, you wouldn't have had that situation arise.
Or taking another route.
Bingo. So once I had that mindset shift there and I started accepting extreme ownership for everything in my life, good, bad, or indifferent, that's when shit changed. Also, that's when people started looking at me different and saying, okay, cool. And not in a bad way. I think more looking up to me more as a leader because I was taking ownership of everything.
Yeah.
And that ties right in with the core values here at Break Free Academy of FYE. Fuck your excuses, right? Like, no. Like, I don't care what your excuse is. Own that you messed up. Just own it, right? And now go fix it, please.
Yeah, exactly, man. Amazing. So, Map. So, do you have any advice? Obviously, go read. Unfuck your business. But do you have any other advice, strategy, or tactic to like map, to like get clarity on who you are, what you want, and where you're going?
Yeah, man. I think a lot of that comes from reading. I really do. A lot of that for me was a real shift when I started taking better care of myself first. When I got extremely selfish in a good way and put me first, that's when shit started to get good, right? So instead of waking up late and groggy and dragging ass, blah, 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 literally flipping everything upside down and making sure that I'm up early. I'm up by 5 o'clock. I'm in the gym by 6 o'clock. I'm taking care of me. I come home and all of my stuff for me personally is done before I interact with the wife, the kids, the business, the this, the that, the boss, the neighbor. Like, I literally pour into me first thing in the morning so that I can go and fulfill everybody else afterwards.
Nice. Awesome. Put yourself first and read books. Awesome. Mindset Map. Motion. So what is a habit that you have that you think has contributed to your success?
Exercise. 100%.
Cool.
100%. Awesome. I spent many years overweight, not taking care of me. And a lot of the chemicals that your body releases while you're exercising are good for you. A lot of endorphins and that kind of stuff. And it also winds up boosting your confidence, right? When you, I like to lift weights and do a little bit of CrossFit. That's my thing. I don't like running.
Yeah.
But when you go in there and you put your body under that strain and you accomplish something, you accomplish a new goal and a new PR and a weight that you're lifting, that right there helps you build confidence. And of course, if you're doing it enough, you're going to start to look better too. Once you look better, you're going to feel better. All ties together.
Exactly. Yeah. So, man, last one, measure. Yep. What do you think about measuring and tracking? And what do you measure and track?
Yeah. So we talked about earlier. I'm going to dive right back to it. You got to know what your time's worth.
Okay.
And this is a metric that I think everybody should measure, and you should continually measure it throughout the year. And it should be increasing. If it's not increasing, you're doing something wrong, right? What is your time worth? So how much money did you put in your bank account last year, right? Whatever that number is, 100 grand, 200 grand, 500, I don't care what it is, 40 grand, it is what it is. That number divided by 2080, 2,080 is roughly 40 hours a week. Okay. That's going to give you approximately what you're worth per hour if you were to work a 40-hour week.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is your baseline metric, right? If you want to get better, anything that falls underneath that dollar amount needs to come off your plate immediately. Like you need to stop doing that, right? And a lot of entrepreneurs are hard-headed, and they basically say, well, I actually like doing it. I like cutting my grass. I like picking up the dog shit in the backyard. I like cleaning it. Stop, right? It's not that you're above doing those tasks, because I don't think anybody is, but it's not the best and highest use of your time. Go focus on things that are going to drive the revenue needle in your life and business, and don't go do stuff that you just don't have to do.
Yeah. Like I don't clean, I don't cook, I don't go to the store, I don't do anything like that. Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man. So, man, I've had a lot of fun. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom. And if people want to know more about Tomas Keenan, they want to get your book, Unfuck Your Business, get to know more about you, about Step It Up Academy, about Step It Up Entrepreneur Podcast and all of that. Where can they find you?
Yeah, best bet is hit me on the website, tomaskeenan.com. My name is really Tomas, so there's no H in there. So find me, tomaskeenan.com, and you can always find me on all the socials. I'm on Facebook. My Instagram handle is @TheIntegratorCoach. And you can find me on TikTok as well, @TheIntegratorCoach. I got a lot of my podcast reels up there on TikTok. So if you want to get a snippet of what I talk about in my podcast, you can go check me out there.
Awesome, Tomas. So man, I'm going to put all that stuff there, all your links and everything, so that people can go and check you out. And I'm also going to add something special, under the description of wherever this appears. And it's going to be like a link, something, I don't know what it's called, /Tomas Keenan, right? And it's going to take people on a free training, on free A to Z training. That training is literally all they need to start, grow, launch, monetize, and automate a multi-million-dollar network building podcast, just like I've been able to do. And like one of the biggest benefits that I've gotten from, doing this, from like talking to over 80 successful people that are decades ahead of me, is been like a change in my identity, a change in who I believe myself to be, which impacts my ability to perform and take action. So I'm going to add that in there as well. Like a special thing just for this episode. And thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you. Unless you have anything else to say, then yeah, we can call this a day.
Cool, man. Hey, Alex, I appreciate your time here today, and you're doing a great thing.
Thank you, man. Bye-bye.